Welcome back to Jason Unleashed, you guys. How's it going? Happy Tuesday. Jason Carter here. Thank you so much for watching. Over the moon and excited for today's show because my guest is the Emmy-nominated co-host of Nightly Pop on E! And E! News correspondent, Nina Parker. Yes, Nina Parker is here, and I feel like I have won the Jason Unleashed Go Live Instagram lottery because I have been a fan of Nina, and she is someone who has left an indelible mark, not only on Black culture, but on entertainment news and television in general. We've loved her on so many wonderful things, from TMZ to Access to The Insider to Dating No Filter. And now she's here, so let's bring her in. Nina, 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 Nina. It's gonna be so freaking good. Nina, Nina, Nina. Nina Parker.
Hi.
Hi, hello. Welcome to
How
Jason
are you?
Unleashed. I'm good. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Like I said, I've won the Instagram Live lottery because you are a
please
freaking
stop.
institution, my Libra sister.
Yes.
You're only a month and 5 days older. I'm a month and 5 days older than you.
I don't believe that.
No, word, girl, for real.
Really? You
Yes,
look way younger than I am.
Well, black don't crack. So no one, and look, don't go Google our ages. We'll leave it at that. But Nina,
Right.
good to see you.
You as well.
First of all, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. Yes.
Good.
Despite all of the crazy mess that we got going on, I'm doing okay.
Good. Well, we're loving you. We've been loving you for years. Let's keep it 100. I don't know where we begin with this interview because, we've watched you for over a decade. But let's start from the beginning because your story has resonated not only with thousands and probably millions across the world, but myself included. 2007, working at Verizon. By the way, I worked at AT&T for 13 years, so I feel you, girl. I feel you.
Yes.
But
it's a lot.
It's people, cell phones, never again.
Right.
But you took a risk and said, I wanted more. I needed more. And now you're here. Take us back, that moment when you said, F this, I'm out, LA, here I come.
Well, I had gotten my degree in journalism. And so I had worked in, the industry. And for those who don't know, I'm a Bay Area girl. So I grew up in Sacramento. Then I moved to Oakland and went to school in San Francisco. So I had gotten my journalism degree at San Francisco State and was working at the local NBC affiliate and decided that I was going to move to New York and become an MTV VJ.
Same.
Fresh out of college, and I was like, I'm gonna be a VJ. I'm gonna, go. It had no on-air experience. I didn't know, outside of college what the hell I was doing, and did not make it in New York at all. They were like, girl, you have no experience. You bye. If I even got an interview at all. And so I lived in New York for a little bit. Kind of went home with my tail in between my legs and to my parents' house in Sacramento. And was like, I just need a regular job to save money to move to LA. And so I was like, I'll just work, for a year, stack up these coins, and I'll move to LA. It'll be that easy, when you're in your early 20s, everything seems so simple and I'll just conquer the world.
And you're fearless. You're hyper fearless.
Right. You're fearless and a little foolish, which is good sometimes. But in this case, my plan was just not well thought out. I ended up actually getting a job at Verizon Wireless and working in a call center where I was completely miserable because I'm a creative. So doing something like that, when I wanted to be doing something else and had a taste of it from college, was just so disheartening. You had to clock in and clock out to use the bathroom.
I know. Quality control. Remember the quality control? Terrible.
Yes.
They monitor everything.
I had such an attitude with customers because I didn't want to do it. I was really bad at my job because I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I had to work holidays. So I was miserable. I was crying every day. I had constant headaches. And it went from 1 year to 3 to 4. I had been there. And, I look up and I'm in my late 20s now working at a place that I hate. Now I have a car, an apartment. I'm like, I'm not even supposed to have all these attachments because I'm supposed to be leaving. Now I got a lease and, a boyfriend in the city. What am I doing? And so one day I was just crying and my mom was just like, you don't have to do this. Like, you do not have to live this life. Like, just quit.
Yep.
And it was so simple. And I was like, just quit. And she was like, yeah, if you don't like it, quit. And so I took my 2 weeks vacation, and my mom and I drove to LA, and I found like a little loft in someone's apartment. You know how people have lofts? This lady was illegally renting her loft, and I
With
lived
no
in the
door.
loft.
With no door.
No. I didn't have a door. I had a little curtain, but I did have my own bathroom, and I would sleep in the bathroom because the loft didn't have a door, and the lady lived there with her daughter, and they were so loud. And so, I would be working these crazy hours, and so they would be so loud, so I would go in the bathroom and sleep on the bathroom floor to try to like sleep through the night. It was a nightmare, but that was my first I was happy to do it though, because I was living in LA. I felt like I was finally living my dream. Shortly after I moved to LA, I got a job at TMZ, and that's just kind of how my national career in TV started.
Well, Nina, it's so incredible to hear and see how you have just your journey, because TMZ, you're a runner, then you become this on-camera personality, which sets you up for other things like The Insider. And we've seen you in so many different outfits in television, so many different layers. Tell us of a time when you finally felt that you were starting to arrive, because I think that a lot of people our grind is so intense.
Yeah.
We get one opportunity, we keep it pushing. We don't take the time to be like, okay, I'm in a space now that's light years away from where I was before, and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting some traction. For you, when was that?
I don't feel like I've arrived.
No, we're going to talk about that. That's later on in the interview.
I don't know if I feel like I don't know if I feel like I have arrived, which is so funny, because I feel like, especially when I talk to other people who are doing what I do, other people on TV,
sure.
Like, I feel like everybody feels like they still want to be somewhere else.
Right.
And, so everybody, especially when you are an overachiever, you're always thinking of the next thing. So in my mind, there are so many things that I want to be doing. So I'm never really thinking about where I'm at. I'm always thinking about where I want to go. And that's a good thing, ambitious wise, but also it doesn't allow you to soak up the moment as much as you want. So I'm trying to get better at like enjoying the moment in all parts of my life, not just work. I tend to like bulldoze through life. Like, I tend to just like go hard. Like, I'm a very all or nothing person.
Same.
So, I don't appreciate things sometimes like in life until it's done, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just had this beautiful day, but I was so in the moment, talking or doing something. I need to take a breath and enjoy it. And I think a lot of us do that.
Well, Nina, that comes from, if I could be honest, being a Black woman in an industry that you have to always be thinking of your next move, because because people are not, I don't say plotting, but they're not really offering you a space to have that next move.
Right.
It's up to you. RuPaul says you're always thinking about your next job while you're on your current job, right?
And you're also, as being a Black woman, you're consistently, I feel like you're always worried that you're going to be misunderstood, that people are going to mistake your passion for something else, that like, I can't express myself the way everybody else can without being called angry. So I think there's always a paranoia with your success. Like, sometimes you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Because, we've been taught that we're supposed to be grateful for any bit of success that we get. So if something goes wrong, we shouldn't question it, because we're lucky to just be there. And so when you finally get to a point where you are in charge of things, like with Nightly Pop, I really have a creative say. I really help develop our rundowns, what we talk about. So, I'm really invested in the content of the show. And, that's not something you get everywhere. And so, it's just something that, you have to remember that people do want to hear you. There's a way to go about handling business. So, it's an interesting climb, but it's a climb.
It's a climb. But let's talk about moments, though, because you said moments and you mentioned Nightly Pop. And one, congratulations on the Emmy nomination. Well deserved.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. NBC Universal has got it right. And I'll tell you how they've gotten it right, because they have allowed for a space for their talent to be authentically themselves. We have seen you, lately, so visceral was your moment on Daily Pop when you had a call to action to millions of people watching, like, hey, the bullshit's done. We can no
Yeah.
longer allow for racist tirade. I mean, like I said, it's over. The reckoning has begun, and it was
Yes.
so powerful and moving for NBC Universal and E to allow you to have that space to connect. Did you ever think in your career, Nina, you would be able to be that raw on national television as a Black woman?
I hoped. It's like I feel like I'm no different than like my friends that when we're all hanging out and like I don't feel like I'm more boisterous than the people that I'm around. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? I feel like there are so many people who aren't on TV that are super funny, super talented,
Yeah.
that have no interest in being in entertainment. Like some of the funniest people I know aren't even in entertainment. That's
Right.
why I love Twitter so much, because it really gets to show you like how creative and funny people are, what they come up with. I don't feel like I'm nearly as charismatic or funny as some of the people in my family, So I always wanted to see that echoed on TV, because I felt like for a long time you only saw a certain type of Black person on TV. So it wasn't always someone that I could relate to, because sometimes I felt like, especially like, in the 80s, not to age myself, but, especially
Right.
like in the 80s, there were just certain examples that we didn't really see of ourselves, or like levels of realness that I felt like were just as a woman and as a Black woman in general, that we just didn't talk about. Like you didn't talk about your Spanx on TV, or you didn't talk
Mm-hmm.
about, your experiences. You made sure that white people felt safe on TV.
Right.
As a Black person, you know what I mean? And so you didn't necessarily always talk about your experiences because you didn't want to make nobody uncomfortable.
Sure.
And so for me, I just decided I didn't want to do that. I was like, and I feel like this about comedy too. Like I feel like not everybody's going to get the joke. If you have to explain a joke, it's not funny.
Right.
So not everybody is going to get it, but those who get it are going to really get it.
Get it, right.
And love you for it. And I feel like that way, in the way that I feel like that I have the ability to relate to people at home. Like, if I'm talking about my cousin who's been locked up that wants to borrow money, somebody's going to feel me. And I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm rarely embarrassed about anything in my life or my family. So I'm an open book. Like I'm pretty much down to talk about anything. I'm really protected when it comes to my family. But other than that, like I'm down to talk about myself, about pretty much anything, and be authentic. And I don't care if I'm around Black people or white people. I'm going to talk about my experience regardless. And if it makes some people uncomfortable, that's too bad.
Right. But Nina, it's that authenticity. My earbuds. These earbuds are like, ugh.
They're the worst. I hate them. I hate
them. Same.
I'm just
girl,
fixing my computer.
But Nina, it's that authenticity. I think that's what people want. I think that's why you have been. I mean, look, from TMZ to The Insider to Access Hollywood to the Love and Hip Hop reunions, which, by the way, did VH1 say, Nina, you need to learn Krav Maga or mixed martial arts to be up in that room? Because sometimes I'm feeling for your life, because it gets lit. Like,
first, let me say hi to everybody. I don't feel like I got a chance to say hi to everybody in here.
Yeah, I know everyone.
Say hello to the love, because you guys are showing mad love, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, they say we need our own show, Nina. Jason and Nina show.
Okay,
We respect that. But no, but like those hip hop reunions were the most though.
I grew up in a Black neighborhood, so I didn't need no prep for Love and Hip Hop. I grew up in a heavily blood area where I was around a lot of gangbangers. I had some in my family, so I didn't need to prep for Love and Hip Hop. Like, don't let the articulation fool you. I've been to many a fight. I've been in many a fight when I was younger. So, I grew up and I'm matured and I know how to navigate.
Right.
But, I'm good at any hood, don't get it confused. So,
yeah, because
I didn't need no prep.
You're like, look, don't if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Right?
It's like, and I think some people, it's just funny because if you've only seen me on Love and Hip Hop, you've only seen me on like a 2, because for me, Love and Hip Hop was never a good representation of who I was, because it wasn't about me, you know? And I think so many times when you're a host, You have to, like, most of the time it's not about you. Unless they're saying, what's your opinion?
Right.
Most of the time you're talking about the world, you're talking about policies, politics, TV, you're talking about things that aren't about you. So when I do Love and Hip Hop, it's like it's these people's opportunity to tell their story of what they waited for all year, whether it's a love triangle, they're in a fight with their baby daddy, they fell out with their best friend. It's not my moment to square up and say like, and also when they're upset, I'm mature enough to not take it personally. I'm mature enough to know that these people don't know me. Most of them don't know, if you don't have my phone number, you know, if you don't have a way of contacting me and talking to me, you don't know me. So I'm not going to get mad if they're snappy or if they, you know, it's a long day. We filmed for like 14 hours. So it was very easy to have things like roll off and not get upset and not be mad and just try to really genuinely get the story out with, you know, obviously like trying to control levels of disrespect so we could actually hear each other. So, you know, it never bothered me that people got upset or people felt like she lets them run over her and she lets them. It was just like, it's not my moment. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not on here with my ex. Like I don't. So it was easy for me to just kind of be like, help them navigate and get out the way, and you know what I mean? Because it's not, people have to understand I'm also at work. Like I'm not at a barbecue. I'm not hanging out at a bar with my girlfriends. I wouldn't respond to conflict like that in my personal life always. But also, like, imagine people fighting in front of you and all your bosses are there. Like you have like heads of networks that come to that taping. I want to work in other things. Like I'm not about to get into no fight with somebody who I don't even know. Like that's crazy. Well, I'm fumbling my bag because y'all mad.
Right, and you always did a great job. Let me scroll through these comments for you. You always did a great job of wrangling people, and also I love how you pointed out, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that it's not about us as hosts. It's not linear casting, it's broadcasting and making sure that the audience gets their yummy and delicious fill of whatever they came to get, and also offering the safe space, because reality TV creates narratives that are false for the sake of ratings. And sometimes you want to have, like, I'm on a show called Drag Race, and you see people who want to set the record straight that didn't get a fair shake and edit, you know? So they're and
you know, and you always don't get a chance to control that, because I think people think I'm more involved than I am. And really, for like Love and Hip Hop, I would binge the show. I didn't watch the show during the season because it is toxic. It was very negative. And to be honest, like I've really, for the last few years, been trying to avoid major like crashes of negativity in what I consume. So for me, I would binge it, you know, go shoot the reunion and come home and do my other TV jobs. And that was really it. I had no involvement in any other processes, casting, what they chose to air. Like I said, we would start filming at 12 o'clock and go 12 in the afternoon, and we would go all the way to 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so they edit that. So some people would say, oh, you know, you stopped the fighting too soon. Or it's like, this is like the fifth or fourth fight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was just like, I don't have any control over that. And so then, you know, I did it for 5 years, and I actually tried to leave a year ago. And I actually tried to leave like a year ago. And they asked me if I could stay because there were some structural changes going on they had changed production companies. And so they were saying it's too much to like change production companies, change hosts. And so I agreed to stay for one more. And then I decided to leave because it was just, I felt like it wasn't necessarily serving me anymore. And to be quite honest, I had like 3 shows going on E!
You're booked and busy.
And some other projects that were going on in addition to like award season. And it was a good problem to have. Like it was no beef. It was like, I genuinely don't have the time to stop what I'm doing in LA and fly to Atlanta for a week. Like I need to stay here. I have projects. I have things that I need to do. And our show on Nightly Pop at first was only 2 nights a week. So I had the flexibility. Then we moved to every night. The show did really well. They wanted us every night. So there was really no way to leave. And I'm not a fan of leaving your own show. That's a network show that films every day, to go film one thing and like have somebody sit in your spot. I'm a huge believer of like, don't leave your spot.
That part.
Once you get in that thing, don't leave
Lock
your
it up.
spot.
Lock it up.
Yes.
I feel that though. But Nina, let's talk about E. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Nightly
let's
Pop.
do
Let's talk
it.
about
Let's
Dating
do
No
it.
Filter. Let's talk about you on E. It did my heart well, Nina Parker, when I saw you hosting E News with Jason Kennedy, and just how, like I said, you're someone we've watched on TV in so many different ways and have experienced you, and like, you know, all different Nina eyebrows, different Nina wigs. We've experienced all of Nina Parker, but you landed on E. Do you pinch yourself? Because look, Dating No Filter, Nightly Pop, Daily Pop, the award shows, you are the face of a network now.
I don't know if I'm the face. I'm
No,
on
like,
that thing.
yeah, but to the viewers, to us
Yeah.
mere mortals, we look at you and think, wow, Nina Parker, E News, wow, Nina Parker, and it's such a joy to see. For yourself, what is it like to be celebrated at a network, and what is it like to be seen at a place like E that allows you to just be yourself authentically? Because that doesn't happen everywhere.
It doesn't happen everywhere. And so if you know my background, you know that I started at TMZ, who let me be pretty authentically me. And then from TMZ, I went to CBS at the Insider for several years, who I felt like they didn't let me be me at all. So I felt like there was always a constant hand on my shoulder, like, don't say this, don't do that. And so I've had all kinds of experiences in TV. So I feel like at E, they are super supportive. They are pretty much, and you know, I've been in TV since 2007 at this point. So I've been doing TV for a long time. And I would say God is good. I've been on a network television show every year since 2007. So, you know, there are Black women working in mainstream spaces, whether it's you talked about or not. And so that's been a blessing. And so E has been good. I actually went to test at E probably right after I left TMZ. And I didn't, you know, there weren't any projects for me. I think I was going in for at least a once a year meeting. And it just never, for years, child, for years. I was like, they don't like me, they don't want me, they ain't checking for me, fine.
On your 10th meeting.
Right. And you know, sometimes, especially in this industry, especially when you're a host, because when you're an actress, you can say, well, you know what, this sucks, but maybe they just didn't like my take on this character. As a host, you're yourself.
Right.
So you're like, damn, they just don't like me. And
yeah,
so
it's very personal.
It can be very personal. But I came to the conclusion a long time ago that I am not for everybody. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Like, I came to really love who I was. And it took a long time. But I came to really love who I was. And I don't think I'm delusional in, like, my discernment. So if I don't like something, I'm okay with saying it. If I love something, I'm okay with saying it. And I'm okay with people not liking me because of my opinions. Because when you're a strong woman, when you're a strong Black woman, it's always going to be somebody who got a problem.
Right.
And I had to stop worrying about if people were happy with what I was saying. I just had to say, you know, I just have to speak from my heart and hope that there's somebody at home that this relates to. So with, you know, it finally working out with E many years later when the stars aligned, it was really blissful. It was like a dream come true. It was something I always wanted. And I always felt like I wanted to be able to have my experience in a space where we felt like we didn't have representation. So to go there, it was really dope. And it was even more dope that they were like, do what you say what you want to say.
Boo.
We don't want to, we're not telling you to lose weight. We're not telling you what you need to say. Like, be authentically you, and we rolling with it.
Yeah, I love that, Nina. So dope. 210,000 people hinge on your every word on Instagram. And no, for real. And you have such visibility, responsibility. Are there times when Nina Parker, the goddess that you are, where you're apprehensive with sharing things and you feel like you have the responsibility to go to be on the front lines for people of color? Like, is that, like, how do you carry that?
It's hard sometimes because sometimes I'm on Nightly Pop with two of my white co-hosts, and I don't feel like anyone looks at them and says, "Can you speak for white people?"
Yeah.
I feel like when they give an opinion, it's their opinion, as Morgan and Hunter. Like, it's just their opinion, and there's no weight associated with that outside of it just being their opinion. I feel like if I give an opinion, it's like, Nina, how do black people feel? And I'm just like, that's a lot of responsibility because I don't speak for all black people. I feel like I'm in a groove where there's a lot of people, if I say something, will agree with me. But, there are people who don't. So sometimes it's hard because if I say anything, if I make a mistake, if anything, it's like all black lives, all black people feel like the way Nina said. And so it's a lot of pressure because it's like, I do feel like this, and I hope there's about a majority of black people that agree with me. But, the weight of every black person is on me as opposed to other people. And it's like, I remember one of the hard things for me at TMZ was there weren't any other black people. This was before Van joined, and I felt like I was fighting the fight every day. Like, it was, they did, to me, they did a lot of things where they kind of race baited, in my opinion. Like, they would do things that they knew people would get upset about just to start the discussion. And I truly didn't like that. And so I felt like I was arguing every show. I had to fight every show. And I started to get exhausted after years and years of that. Yeah. And so there were some days where I just was like, I ain't saying nothing. And then I would get texts and emails and tweets like, why were you quiet? Why didn't you speak up? And it's like, damn, I spoke up every day for 2 years. I'm tired today. Like, I feel like like it was just ridiculous. I just didn't want to participate. Some days you're exhausted. You're human. So, but as I got older, I just realized that you don't get to be tired.
Right.
You take your days off and you pause and you get a breath and you take your moments before you film and do whatever you can to get yours in. But, you do have a responsibility. And when it's time to show up, you need to show up. And, take your vacation days and your spa days and whatever you need to do. But when it's time, I think it's important to show up because sometimes the only representation is going to be you. And, it's just not a time to be quiet. And so I just made sure. And I mean, I've always been loud and talked anyway, so it wasn't too hard.
With great responsibility, with great power comes great responsibility. Yes.
Yes.
Nina, like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm really good at my job, but today I'm having a brain fart. I'm talking.
You're amazing at your job. You're so good at your job.
Thank you. Let's talk about quarantine because I mean, life the last 6 months has been unprecedented. What has Nina Parker learned about herself in quarantine that you didn't have the time to get together while you were out living your best life in these streets prior to March 17th, 2020? Like, how's quarantine been for you? And what have been some of the things that you've been like, oh my gosh, I love to make pretzels. I never knew I loved to make pretzels. Like what has Nina Parker been doing in quarantine?
I have learned how to cook a lot better than I could. Like, I have maybe like 5 signature dishes outside of the basic stuff that I could do. So I did, in the beginning of quarantine, go through this phase where I was cooking and baking and doing all these things. But it started to get more, I would say that I kind of had a spiritual journey during quarantine that I didn't expect. But I really, I got so real and raw, natural hair, like, my eyebrows aren't done. Like, it was like, I was looking at myself like, oh, I'm tired of looking at you. Like, oh, bitch. Woo! You rough and rugged in these quarantine streets. Like, I was like, whoa. So after probably like 2 weeks of being disgusted with myself, looking in the mirror and being like, oh, you look crazy. I started to like fall in love with myself.
Yeah.
Some people are saying there's an echo. But
there's always an echo. I'm in the hotel room. It's fine. There's always an echo.
But I just really started to fall in love with myself, started to fall in love with like reading a little bit more, kind of just really like, because sometimes we say we love ourselves, we say we're good, we have high self-esteem, and it's not always true. Right. And I really had to I had the time to sit, journal, really fall in love with myself, really call myself to action on certain things and my own responsibilities to myself. And just kind of, I cut like people off. There were
Same. Bye.
I was just like, yo, like this is like we don't need to be in each other's lives. Like
Right.
there was just a lot of reckoning that I did during this
Mhm.
quarantine. I do feel like I will come out of it a better person and more centered. And there were days where I was crying and purging, and I just kind of went through this evolution. I felt like of falling in love with who I was and what I was saying. And it was surprising, some of the things that I've kind of discovered about myself when I couldn't go nowhere, or what I was using happy hours and hanging out to avoid dealing with certain things. Because when you have, the opportunity to deflect, you take it. And
Instantly.
I didn't have the opportunity to deflect anymore. I had to sit with myself and sit with what I wanted. Sit with like, what kind of woman do I want to be? Do I want to be a woman of my word? Do I want to be friends with this person? What kind of man do I want in my life? Like, how do I want to provide for others? How do I want to love on my family? How do I want to be treated? What level of respect can I expect from people if I'm not giving that level of respect? What do I want to put in my body? What am I eating? What do I need to cut out? I've cut out like dairy, and it was just really an exploration with myself. And, really I had like this second voice that would be like, Nina, what do you want to do today? And genuinely like do things. And I stopped doing things out of obligation because people felt like I needed to be doing it for them, or, hop on 27 Zooms and FaceTimes because people felt like they needed something from me. And really like learning who are takers in my life and not givers, and who I'm taking from and not giving enough to.
Nina, that is the silver lining of COVID-19 that I'm so glad that you are talking about. And I've talked about with other people. Me and Zuri Hall had the same conversation as well, that it's avoidance. We live on this banner of avoidance because we all have trauma. We're all traumatized in some capacity, and it hurts to dive into that trauma. It hurts to recognize that trauma. It hurts to admit you're traumatized, right? So being able to be strong enough to go within and say, I'm a little effed up. Let me figure out where like life is like Velcro. We roll around in life and things stick to us. And then by the time we wake up, we're in our 40s. We're like, why am I holding on to this and that? So that's a silver lining of COVID that I'm glad that people are experiencing. But you said you wanted to be, what kind of man you want in your life? Does Nina Parker have time for love?
Yes. I always have time for love. I am a huge romantic. So I always have time for love, but I didn't really want a quarantine romance.
Yeah.
I initially was like, there were a few people that I was kind of like lightly, entertaining before quarantine happened. And I just decided that like, it's sometimes when you're like, how like you're on the fence, you're like, I don't know if I really like this person, but they're nice. I should like them, but it's not really there. And I just kind of felt like I didn't want to waste anybody's time, and I didn't want my time wasted. And I felt like I really wanted to preserve my energy for things that were real. And I think you can kind of instantly know, like in this conversation, I know I could sit down and have brunch with you. You know what I mean?
Really? Oh, I'm so honored. That's dope. Thank you. Oh,
yes.
That's cool.
But there's some people where like you can have a conversation and it's just forced, or they're not bad people. There's just I truly believe in chemistry and connection, and you just don't have it with everybody. It doesn't mean they're bad or you're bad. You just don't have it. I'm just kind of not in a place where I feel like entertaining anything that's not going to be something, even if it leads to a genuine friendship. It's just like there are just some people you don't click with. And so there were certain people that I was dealing with where I was just like, I'm just doing this to fill time. Like I'm just doing this. I'm doing this because I want to be wanted, because it feels good to my ego. But this is not doing a service to this person.
Right.
And it's wrong of me to waste their time or mine when I truly don't have any interest other than having my ego stroked.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the business of like wanting to have like my ass kissed. Like I like a challenge. I like a witty guy. I like a guy who's going to call me on my shit. I don't want to walk over you. Like I want you to stand 10 toes down in how you feel. You don't have to agree with me. So, I love a gentleman and I love kindness, but I also love his shortness.
Mm-hmm.
And, a man who's short and who he is, I can't deal with an insecure man. To me, an insecure man is the only thing worse is a narcissistic insecure man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm good. So
You're
yeah,
good.
I've been kind of loving on myself and not really focused on a guy. There are definitely options and people I enjoy spending time with. They're just not a priority right now. Like I don't really care about it. Like if it happens outside of quarantine, but I kind of like to be in people's faces and talking and drinking and floating around and being social, and it's really hard to do that right now. So there are a couple people who are in my life that are really dope. Right now, they're just friends because I can't give more, and I'm very open and honest about what I can give right now. And I'll be like, I don't feel like talking right now. Like I am just enjoying this space with myself. But I'll hit you sometime this week, and if you can respect that, then let's float together. If not, I'll respect that too.
And that, Nina, is you on your grown woman shit, mature, and realizing that's you caring about yourself, but also putting somebody else's feelings as a priority. Because I think that's where people go. Ego, as you said, is sometimes at the forefront of a lot of actions and a lot of interactions. Yes. And when you extract that and you say, listen, I think you're dope, but I would be doing a disservice to you as a person, a man, a female, whatever, by even entertaining something that I'm not really, and again, if you're cool with that, that also speaks volumes to them, because they're like, I feel you. And that it creates an even more safe space to possibly have a relationship done. Like, I love that. That's dope.
Yeah, I'm always in the business of meeting and connecting with people. I genuinely love people. I love finding out about people's background. I'm just genuinely, I think since a kid, just been nosy. So I'm always down to like meet and talk. And, quarantine has just put me at such a disadvantage as far as being able to be social as much as I want to be. But I just kind of have been surrendering to where God wants me to be and really just genuinely asking myself what I want. And I don't think that I'll seriously date until quarantine is over. I just don't think it's not my thing. Like I need to be out. I need to be doing things, so I don't think that's coming. But you don't know. I always say things and then God's like, that's what you thought. So
psych.
God's like, oh, you got to play it, girl, bye. So
right. They say when you make plans, God laughs.
Right. So, I could meet my husband, in the post office parking lot when I got to go mail stuff later. I don't know.
Nina, oh my God! Look, PR said you have limited time, so I know you got to go. I want to get this question.
No, we got time. We got time.
All right, cool. So many people look up to you and really subscribe to everything you're about. If someone wants to come up to Nina Parker in an elevator and be like, Nina, tell me who you are. What would you, no, seriously, that's a hard question because I was asked that in an elevator and I asked all my guests that because it had me stuck.
Really?
I was like, yeah.
I'm not telling anybody in the elevator who I am.
No.
You might get maced up. I'll be like, excuse me?
But in a prayer.
Here's the thing about me. I am nice. I am polite.
Yeah.
I'm not always friendly. It depends on, like, I'm very guarded with my space. You know what I mean? So you come up to me in the elevator wanting to know some business, I might be like, excuse you? So.
But okay, so let's say not an elevator then. Let's say, but if someone said, Nina Parker, who is Nina Parker as a woman in 2020? Yeah. What does Nina Parker stand for, and who does Nina Parker represent? What would you tell them?
Man, I would say that I try to represent authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And imperfection, because I think sometimes when people feel like you're strong, there's no room for mistakes.
Right.
And I am a flawed human being, just like anybody else. I might get it right 90% of the time, but I'm gonna make mistakes just like everybody else. So I would say, I don't know. I find beauty in imperfection in people in general. Like I love people who, aren't perfect or who, might have a scar on their face somewhere or, you know what I mean? Like there's not this perfect structure of who you are, like that you've allowed for imperfections. And so, but I would say that I'm someone who tries to love hard, that enjoys being loved, that is a woman of her word,
Mm-hmm.
and who don't take no shit,
Mm-hmm.
and who stands 10 toes down for everyone that she loves. And everyone is, whether I know you personally, whether you're Black, because, I genuinely love being a Black woman. Like, I feel like there's nothing better. So I stand for that so much, and root for everybody, and just really enjoy being a people's person and a girl's girl.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not one of those girls that's like, I don't want to be friends with girls. Like, I love the company of other women, and, enjoying that. And just also just being someone who is tenacious, who just doesn't give up. Because, if I lost everything today, you won't see me wither away. I'll start it all over again. Like, I know that I'm very, very sure in the plan that God has for me. And setbacks, like, don't break me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not defined by my failures. I feel like my failures make me.
Yeah.
So.
Chills. What's your hopes for the future?
I am one of those people that keeps everything really close to my chest. So, like, you'll never see me like tweet like big project coming, or
yeah, stay tuned
to this meeting. Y'all
right.
wait. You're never gonna see pictures of me outside of a network with my hands crossed. Meeting, like,
hey, Nina, you know how many of those pictures are from some of my host friends from have walking out like.
Now, once you got the job,
there you go.
But like, we all get meetings, sis. But no,
General at E.
I believe in manifesting, but I also believe in like quiet manifestation within like your small circle until it tells the world.
Right.
I'm not a huge believer in like telling all of your hopes and goals to the world, because I really believe in like manifesting it with God, and really sitting in it, and really believing and seeing it before it happens. So, but in general, like, obviously I want to continue creating, and, continue thriving on this network and other platforms, and expanding and getting into scripted. And, there are a lot of hopes and dreams, and just media in general, and entertainment in general, that I hope to continue to connect to, and just really like enjoy bringing the Black experience to TV.
And you do that effortlessly and flawlessly. And people are always like, Jason, you're so nice. But like, I believe, like, I watch a lot of talent on TV. I watch a lot of TV. And I watch Daily Pop. I watch everything on E daily. And so it's just, like I said, it's been so wonderful to have you there, and for you to show us all the different sides of you're funny, but also you're not afraid to get raw and visceral and real and present when it's needed. And you having that bravery, you being fearless, and you saying, hey, this is the time, I'm going to be that vessel and that conduit for these conversations, is so invaluable, Nina. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
you.
And for just being awesome. Look, Instagram's going to kick us off in 5 minutes. Did Nightly Pop 4 nights a week on E. We see
right now it is 4 nights a week outside of quarantine. It's Monday through Thursday. Right now it is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday in quarantine, because we're filming at home.
Sure. And then Daily Pop daily.
Yeah, I'm not on Daily Pop, just to be clear. Yeah. I go on sometimes if they need me, to fill in. But yes, Daily Pop is every day.
And we can follow you at Miss Gossip Girl everywhere.
Everywhere, yes, it's Miss Gossip Girl. I am trying to change it. That's been like my handle since I was at TMZ, so I am trying to change it. I just, been lazy about it. But eventually, y'all gonna pop on and it'll be Nina something.
All right, girl. Hey, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on Jason Unleashed. Nina, keep on killing it. Keep on doing the good work. Fan for life. Everyone here is celebrating you in the comments, guys.
Thank you.
Support Nina.
Should we answer in the last couple minutes? Should we answer any questions before we go?
Oh, yeah. Hey, you guys send me some questions.
Just because everybody... Oh, they haven't sent you anything. Okay, well, y'all don't...
No, hold on. Let me see. Girl, wait, hold on. No questions, but... Okay, you guys have 2 minutes to send a question. We'll wait. Nina, what fragrance do you wear?
Ooh. I am wearing, so I like Gucci Memoir, and there's a YSL. I don't know the name of it, but it's YSL. It has like the gold YSL on it, and
It's
like a black chain around the
it,
top.
it's called Libre
Yeah.
from
Oh yes, yes. How could I forget?
with
Ooh,
Dua Lipa. She was the face. She was the face of it. Dua Lipa. Yeah.
that is my scent. That is the
Cool.
YSL.
We got a question, Nina. Let's do a question. Okay. Oh my God, Nina. When are we getting a podcast?
Ooh, probably never. Y'all don't understand. Podcasts are so much work. I did a podcast with Roxy Diaz a couple years ago.
Love Roxy.
Yes, love Roxy. It was so much work, and I don't know. Like, I would probably have to have a whole team of people that like could help me do it because I do enjoy the podcast world. Like, I love coming on
Hmm.
podcasts and doing things like this. I don't know if I could, like, it's just so, I have so many things going. I just don't know when I will find the time. And it's not like you can just pop down and sit in the
Yeah.
chair. Like, you really have to work and book guests and develop
Hmm.
segments, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It's you. It's an endeavor that you have to be. It's like blogging. You have to be
Yeah,
committed to build a following,
yeah,
build a brand. Yeah, I get
yes.
that. But hey, we'll take you on as a guest on any podcast, girl. We'll take you. We'll take you, Nina. One more question. One more
Okay.
question, and then it's gonna. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, this is a really good one. From Climb to the Top. Nina, met you at an audition 3 years ago. Advice for wanting to get back to LA and break back into the business. From Climb to the Top. She's in Minnesota right now. She's awesome. She met you
Oh,
3 years
yes,
ago.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly who that is. Hey, girl, moved to LA because it's really hard. I remember her, and I think she lived in Minnesota. It's hard when you don't live in the city because
It is.
there are so many people there who live in LA who are ready to start the same day. So if you have any reasons or why you can't do it, they got like hundreds of other people who can do it right then. So my first thing is move to the city that you want to work in.
Hmm.
And then also just really don't allow those no's to define you. Just know that you're going to get them. Like, be okay with that. And really try to get into some digital spaces. Like, if you don't have a ton of experience on television, but you know that you're good and you can do these things, definitely try to get in the ground up of some digital organizations because there are so many like that have smaller but really big followings
Yeah.
that they're looking for people to go out and report and get information and help out. So really try to get some love in that digital space because one digital thing and everybody can see it. You know, it's
Hmm.
it's not like it used to be. You can
Right.
do one digital interview and everybody sees it. So definitely try to get in those spaces. A lot of people have Instagram pages like the Jasmine brand. They're always looking for people and talent. So, maybe make sure you're looking at all of those options.
She said, packing my bags. Adios, snow. Here I am. Here I come. I go. I'll let you go again, Nina. Wow. Thank you. Made my
Thank you
year.
guys.
Made my year.
Yes.
And,
Oh, you're
and
so sweet.
and we will catch you on everything E. And you just keep on
Yes.
killing the game, girl. You fans for life here. We got your back. And
Thank you
you're a
guys.
gem. You're a national
Thank
freaking
you. You
treasure,
are such
Nina.
a sweetheart. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you allowing me on your platform. You have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Back at you. Bye, boo.
Bye.